I look at the drawing and remind myself where the light was coming, and obviously the light's coming from the right hand side. You can tell by the shadows. So I very quickly just throw in the darkest shadows on, in this case, the left hand side of the figure. And I'll let it get more washy as it's on the closer to the inside of the figure where more of the light is, and I'll let it get darker heading out towards the edge. And then anything that I see sort of heading out closer to the viewer, I will make a little bit darker. So, and then I won't get fussy over here. This whole face was in shadow, but I want to also put a little bit of a shadow on the outside edge. A good trick is to not go completely to the edge of the pen, to kind of create that illusion of when the body turns like that away from you, the shadow is actually just on the outside edge and not quite lining up with the pen line, if that makes any sense. Hopefully I'll be able to show you one later on that'll make more sense. And then sometimes I'll even drift out of the figure with the wash wherever I think it makes sense. If I want her to recede into the background and I want some of the other details to come forward. Like I said, I'm not going to put a ton of detail on this. I'm just going to move very quickly. And then to kind of ground the figure, it's always good to throw a dark shadow underneath if you can, if it makes sense, the drawing, just so you can give that figure some weight and really believability with the light source. So I'm going to go over some of the other areas that should be a little darker. And I'm going to call that one done. I'm trying to follow my rule of stopping when I like it and not when I start to not like it. So I want to stop before I think it's done, because you can always go back in and work on it. Now I'm going to work on one, just so that the pages have time to dry. I'm going to work on one on the left hand side here. I think I'll use this guy. I love this real blocky figure of this man. It's very small. It's a very tiny drawing, so I'm having to get used to the size of this. Some of the ones that I was doing earlier were much bigger, and so I'm being a little sloppy, but it's still super fun to apply the color. And it's just another chance to kind of study the figure while you're not drawing. And I love the idea of just throwing in a lot of shade here and making this very dramatic, and making the areas that I want to recede into the background, and then the areas that I want to come forward, pop forward. So I'm trying to pay attention to the ground, and I already have the contour lines on the figure, which means the lines that kind of show the form. So this is the super easy part, is applying the color. And I would definitely encourage you to try this. In a prior video, I bought a used figure drawing book online. You can get them on eBay real cheap. I think I bought it for $5, and I used other people's drawings just to, you know, try my hand at doing this wash before I, you know, did my own drawing. So now I'm going to do the lady over here, and try not to block the camera. Like I said, I'm new at this. I appreciate you all coming and taking a peek. Would love it if you would like my video and maybe subscribe to the channel, so I know that people are watching, and they'll tell me that maybe I should do some more, or maybe I should do something else. So I appreciate it, though. I appreciate you watching and appreciate your comments. I encourage you to try this. You know, even if you don't think of yourself as being particularly good with figure drawing or painting for that matter, it's, you know, just a fun exercise. And like I said, if you use, you know, a book where the drawings already exist, I can show you that before we end this video. You can see that that's even an easier way to try. So I'm going to call that one done. We're going to give this belly a real form. Actually, I think I lied. It wasn't done. I'm going to throw some throw some shadow in over here. So I wish I could think of the artist's name that I took these drawings from. I think it's coming to me that it begins with an M. Mantle or something like that. Anyway, he's one of the greats, and it was just really fun to kind of learn from the way he shades things, the things he leaves out, the information he finds important when he does a figure. This one has a lot of ink on it, so it's going to be a bit dark. I like her face though, and just trying not to get fussy with it. You know, I'm just trying to really pay attention to where the shadows would fall and where I can leave the white of the page being the only information. And when I feel like I need a little bit darker color, I use this area here and not in the pool of water that has come from the pen, just to give a little bit of a contrast to the paint. And as these are drying, I can always come back, have a look, and decide where it got a little bit too light and maybe I need to apply more color. I'm going to try this guy over here. I'm going to do some pretty sweeping gestures here and try to make this one a little bit more interesting. I'm trying not to block the camera. And we're always trying to think about the structure that's under the figure, and you see how I'm putting like a lighter touch on the right side with the color. When I say lighter touch, I'm talking about, you know, the amount of color that I'm using. Where the light side is on the figure, I'm just really trying to pay attention to that, and just trying to be consistent about it. And then there are certain areas where I can just sort of, you know, be bold and color it all in, because I know that it would be in some sort of shadow. I also think it's sometimes a mistake to get too dark near the edge of the page, like I'm doing here, because it can, you know, lead the viewer away from sort of the key areas of the drawing, which probably are not going to be right at the edge. So I'm just going to leave that one the way it is, and I'll check it later. I really like this one. I think I'll take a whack at this one. I've said this before on my other videos. If my annoying Rhode Island accent is not soothing, it'd probably be nice to listen to watch these with no sound and a little bit more relaxing. Anyway, I like this pose a lot. I remember when I was drawing it, I really enjoyed it, and I can always tell when a drawing is going to come out a little better than another one because it just goes smoothly. I'm not even paying attention to it. It's just sort of natural. I like the idea too of really making the darkest dark be the background, so that's kind of a nice variant too. The pages of this sketchbook are a little bit rough. I actually bought this sketchbook in a recent trip to India for work, and I just thought it was so cute. I don't think the pages though are the best quality, but it's okay. I mean, just to give you an example, I mean, you don't have to spend a lot of money on this stuff. I think the sketchbook was $4. The paints were probably $11, and it has every color you could possibly need, and I'm only using one. And this pen is, again, like $11, so it's really cheap stuff, and they'll last you forever, or they'll last you for years anyway. And so anybody can do this. It's not, you can buy it all online. I use Dick Blick Art Supply. I think they're great, and they're super fast delivery. Sometimes Amazon. However, I'm a total home goods girl, just letting you know. Home goods, where it's at. I got to tell them to start stocking up on some art supplies. I would love to buy all my stuff there. Anyway, a little plug for my day job. So I'm calling that one done. I love this figure. I like that it's cut off. I like that it doesn't quite, you know, well, it doesn't fit it on the page at all. I like the idea that I can just maybe draw it positive to negative here and just use the outside edge to define the form. And I'm going to be really loose with it. Might come back in later with some lighter strokes. But I think the pen's doing a good job, the drawing I should say, of creating the structures, so I can be pretty loose with this paint if the drawing is functioning better on its own. So again, trying not to overdo it. That's the hardest thing, to not just keep going with it, especially when the camera's on you. You want to just make it just right, but the fact is that's how to get it just wrong. So anyway, again, this trick, I think it's a good one, of just doing a light stroke, not quite to the edge, on the light side of the figure. Really helps a lot. So I'm going to be careful and maybe leave this one alone. I'll just throw like a light wash to the outside because I kind of like the way it's looking, and that's when you should be stopping. I also like that there's no color on this side, so I just want to connect this to really show this form as bulbous here and not as bulbous over there. So I rather like that one. So I'm skipping around. Oh, here's another one that I like, these chunky these chunky models. I'm a bit of a chubby chaser when it comes to drawing. It's the skinny models don't really have as much to say. I love all the flesh, and I like when you can really feel the form. Anyway, I'm throwing a lot of shading back here because I want to push that arm back and into space, and the best way to do that is to make it blend into the shade of the background. So just to tell you how portable this is, where I'm working right now tonight is I'm actually at a car dealership. It's Sunday night. The car dealership is closed, and Marissa is doing her painting on the walls. She's a contractor, and so while she's doing that, I'm keeping her company, or not really, sort of just doing my own thing here. But I'm working on my own painting while she's working on hers, painting the dealership walls. So you really can bring this stuff anywhere. Like I said, I was doing these in a car while the car was driving, cruising along, and it's just a great way to pass the time and get some, get some training for yourself on, light and shade. I'm using this master drawing, not mine, of course. This is my copy of a master drawing to really, inform me of, where lines are working and where shadow is working and where it's just not. So I really like this. I think this is flattening out here, so I want to make sure I put a little shade in. So I'm going to stop there, maybe run that there, and then one last thing I see, I would love to put this whole arm into shade here and back here. I also like to pay attention to the elbows too. It's an area where you can really, make something look like it's coming at you. So I'm gonna leave that one the way it is. Let's see if I can cruise around here and find another one. Let's do this one super fast because I like to keep these videos fairly short so I can upload them without screaming at my phone in frustration. So I'm just doing this one super fast. I might not do anything on the background on this one. This was a really fast sketch that the original had been done, so I tried to keep that same feeling. And they all don't have to have a ton of detail to be interesting, although I like the ones that have a little more detail. So I'm just gonna probably leave that one the way it is. So I'm spinning through here so you can see, and I'll do one more, and I'll do the rest in another video. So again, would love it if you could like any of these videos, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that I know I should maybe do some more or maybe hang it up, who knows. So, and also my artwork by Mary, that's M-A-R-I. I have a lot of step-by-step tutorials on my oil paintings that I do, so which is really what I prefer, the medium I prefer to work in. Although when I was in school, I'm a RISD alumni from Rhode Island, I really loved figure drawing. That was really, I felt like it was what I really loved, but unfortunately you can't make a living doing that. So I went into illustration and learned how to do product design, and that's how I make a living. But have always loved figure drawing, always, and kind of coming back to it later in life, as they say. So anyway, I just don't want to get this too dark, so I'm dripping some water into this pan here, and I'm going to do some more transparent light washes just to give the figure a little structure on the opposite side, and then I'm going to call that one done. I like that she's kind of on a blanket and I didn't put any shadow beyond that. So I might stop there. I'll just give you one last look through the ones that I did, and later on I'll catch the ones that I didn't have time to do. Thanks so much for watching, and if you want to know what kind of paint this is I'll kind of turn it this way. This is a set by Pelican, and it's an opaque watercolor, so it's not super washy, and I think it's, you know, a really neat medium to use. And again, really expensive materials here, nothing fancy. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, wow, this would be so cool if I made this really dark, and we'll see if that was a mistake. I want to wash it out just a little bit more. It'd be cool to have one that's really dark. So, and sometimes if you go too dark, you can pull a little bit of it up. I'm gonna try to put in like a dramatic line in here. Just get some of the, because I don't really have any of these are really paying attention to the floor, but this one is, so it's a chance to make this one look a little different than the others. Anyway, moving along, try not to overdo it. So I'll catch you guys on the next video. Thanks so much.